Hey guys, welcome to Teal House Farm. We got some garden work today, so let's get it done. First we need to water everything though before we get any work done. Get the ground nice and soft, and also I haven't watered yet today, so let's do it. Let's get watering. As I said in other videos, my biggest downside I found so far to this no-till bed is it dries out really fast. I have to do way more watering than I ever did in our in-the-ground tilled garden we've had the last 7 years. I've definitely had horrible seed germination rates this year for things that have been direct sowed because I just couldn't keep the ground wet enough to get the seeds to germinate. So that's something to consider for next year if you're considering this type of garden. And Mr. P and Daddy are working on some lawn mowing, but I have to tell the construction manager he can't keep his tiny equipment that close to the big equipment, so he moves on out to a new patch of grass further away to continue his job. And we are going to head into our old garden, which is also now totally overgrown with weeds, but that's fine because we're not using this bed anymore. We're going to remove some T-posts, and we're going to use these T-posts to help make a fence line that we will stake our tomatoes to. I could walk the 25 feet to the barn and grab a T-post puller, but why do that when you can just do a lot of manual labor and try to get them out yourself? We eventually get the 2 T-posts out we need, and then we're going to drag them on over to our new garden bed and get them set in the ground. Now, while I was wandering around in here trying to get these T-posts out, I did discover that I had left 3 pepper cages behind, which is perfect. I knew I had more somewhere, and they were just so overgrown with weeds I couldn't find them. So we moved those from the old garden bed to cage up the last 3 pepper plants we transplanted that didn't have pepper cages. If you're curious, you don't have to have a pepper cage to support your pepper plants. If you're growing a smaller variety pepper like a jalapeno, those plants do not get big enough and the peppers don't get heavy enough to really bend the plants over, but I use them anyway. I feel like it helps keep the leaves off the ground, and it also just helps the plants to grow a little straighter. So in my book, it's worth the $4 or $5 for those smaller varieties. Next up, we need to find the T-post smacker inner tool thingy, so we head down to the barn and see if we can find it in our giant mess of a barn. We grab it and get our T-posts and we place them in the ground. They go in pretty easy because this no-till bed is pretty soft. I'm just going to try to get 1 fence line in today. I'm going to need 2 because I have 2 rows of tomatoes, but time is running short. I'm going to need to make lunch a little bit for the kids, and so I can't spend a lot of time on this. So if we can get 1 done today, maybe we can get 1 done tomorrow, and then we'll be all set. We got the second fence post set in.
Yeah, I'm going to try and mow.
I'm tying that up. I need somebody to help me though.
What?
I'm tying that in the garden. I just need somebody to help me hold it up. I'm going to go grab a kid. Give me like 5 minutes. I need a big kid helper.
I'm waking Daddy Gary.
Ivy? Are you busy?
No?
Can you help me for 5 minutes?
For what?
I'm trying to put up a fence in the garden. I need up your hands.
Okay. This is not coming. Okay. I need to get one now.
What are you eating?
Cocoa?
Crackers? Are you getting crackers all over my bed?
No, I don't have one.
Okay.
I'm going to sleep on.
Go get your boots on. All right, Ivy heads out to help me, and we're gonna try to get this massive tangle of repurposed chicken wire untangled without killing our tomato plants in the process. And we're gonna get it tied up to the T-posts. So the first side, I just tie the top and the bottom. The second side's a little harder because you wanna try to stretch it as straight as you can. And chicken wire does not like being stretched straight. So it takes a little bit of muscle and time. So Ivy helps me stretch and pull and tie some knots. We're just using old string from hay bales to tie this up. So no reason to buy zip ties or anything unless you really want to. You can repurpose what you already have. The most important one here is on the bottom. It really needs to be pulled tight. We want to give our tomatoes a real sturdy lattice to be attached to. And when it comes to tying up the tomatoes, I just use the baling twine as well. Some people use nylon from like pantyhose. You don't want to use anything too rough because it might damage the plants and cause some scarring on your tomatoes. So I know some people use zip ties. I've used them before too, but I feel like it actually ends up damaging the plant. So now that my pants obviously are totally covered in seeds, we search out some cucumber cages. This here was actually left by our previous tenants who owned the farm before us, and I've had these for 8 years and they work great. I just set them upright with the pokey side down over the cucumber, and then the cucumber plant will grow straight up the circle, and it makes it so easy to harvest the cucumbers. Last thing we're gonna try to do today is hill up these potatoes. So we carefully put third row of tires on top. Annie Banani was very nice and made me a refreshing drink for all my hard work. So we enjoy a quick break and then it's back to work. We need 2 more sets of tires. I keep them stored here in the back out of sight. And we're just gonna roll it to the front. We do have to be careful when stacking the tires. You don't want to accidentally, knock over a stack, and you also try not to smash the leaves in between the tires. So you have to be a little bit patient trying to get them worked up there. The tires also aren't uniform sizes, so you have to do a little bit of wiggling to get them worked in. And that's what it looks like. And the next thing we have to do is add more composted material. Potatoes are super heavy feeders, so I actually plant them directly in this composted bedding. So this composted bedding is more than a year old. Some of it's 4 or 5 years old. So it's well composted, but I don't mix in any soil or potting soil or anything else. I plant the potatoes directly into it because, like I said, they are heavy feeders and they're gonna need a lot of that nitrogen to grow nice and green and nice and strong. We then carefully fill in the tires. You need to make sure you get the soil packed in the ring of the tires. So you can use a shovel to do that. I'm just using my hands. We want to make sure we get it all the way in the sides because that's where the potatoes are actually going to grow, is inside the ring. Okay, that's all the time I set aside for today to do that. So I'll show you. You can see we have hilled up, left a few inches. This one actually I could have gone a little farther, but I didn't want to do another load today. So left a few, you want to leave 2 to 3 inches on top is usually what I do. And the potatoes will continue to grow upwards. And once they peak over the top of this 3rd row, I will probably do a 4th one, and that's as tall as these will get. There's those. This one was a little trickier because the potatoes spread at a different time. So I have a small one and a big one. So I kind of lopsided, hilled up to make sure we didn't drown out that small one and it can still grow. And we did 1 row of the tomato fences. I still need to secure the tomatoes to the fence, tie them up, and I need to do a 2nd row for the other row behind them, but that's a great start. And we now have enough pepper cages, so all of our peppers are all set. Everything's been watered. So all in all, a pretty good garden day. Now we need to go inside and make some lunch for the kids, I think, and we'll call it good. Thanks so much for joining us out in the garden today, guys. We'll see you next time.